Hello and welcome. Would like to share a little something with you from the Ethics of Confucius. And this was published in 1915. And this little sharing or dissemination, I should say, might be construed as a response to the political landscape that's taking place across the globe. Actually, it's not just here in the United States. This is happening across the globe. But it's not. This just happens to be an opportune time to present this. And I'd like to begin with: the ruler must first himself be possessed of the qualities which he requires of the people, and must be free of the qualities which he requires the people to abjure. Or rather, this might be a little simpler: those in power must be of good qualities, the qualities that they expect their followers to possess. And those in positions of authority must be free of those qualities that they would like their followers to stay away from or to not project. And as I said, today's political upheavals that are taking place across the globe are a very good example of this. When you scroll through Facebook, all those people who are against the president, all they essentially do is whine and cry about what is being done without giving any thought to what's behind all of this. And the idea here with the electoral process and electing leaders and such is that those leaders will possess those qualities that those people who vote for them, who empower them — voting is an improper term, empower is more correct — those who are empowering a single person with authority, with power. And there is a huge plethora of discussions and quotes and such about not giving away your power, about taking your power back, and everything associated with your power, when in truth you are empowering, giving away your power, supplying another with your power. You are empowering someone to represent you. And the qualities that are being demonstrated are just not those of whomever happens to be in power, but reflects. See, these leaders that are empowered are a reflection of those who empowered them. So it's not just the qualities of the leader, because it says here that the leader must first be possessed of the qualities which are required of the people. And these qualities are being expressed. It's not a single person that is responsible. It is all of those that are behind that single person. Now, when everything seems to be going their way, those who are in opposition presently, when leadership is moving in their direction, they're no different than the followers of those leaders whom they oppose. But he also goes on to say that those who follow do not follow what is commanded, but do what they see their leader doing. In other words, they are less likely to follow their directions and more likely to follow the example that is in front of them. If the instructions are contrary to the behavior, they're going to follow the behavior and dismiss the instructions. That's what they're saying. And the interesting thing is that that's what children do. Children are more likely to follow the example of their parents than they are to do as they are told. Something to keep in mind. And as we continue with this, there's one other one. When a person who is over others transgresses in their words, the people will fashion their speech accordingly. And we see that. We see that. When the political leaders are not doing what they said they were going to do, then there are those who are pointing it out, saying this person said this and they're doing this. They lied to us. That's fashioning their speech accordingly. And at the same time, there are those who are going to go with, yes, he said that, and this is what he is doing. Again, this is all perception. Everything that you experience is your perception. Your experience is shaped by your perception. Your experience is not simply an experience. Your experience is the result of your perception. And he goes on to say that when they transgress in their conduct, the people will imitate them as their model. Again, children, this is another way of saying those who follow do not follow what is commanded, but do what they see. This is just a longer version of saying the same thing. Children do not follow their instructions when the parent is doing something entirely different. Conflict of messages. And there's this old cliche, you will know a person by the fruit of their works. And what this is saying is, it's got nothing to do with what they say they're going to do, but it has everything to do with what they are doing. And this is what we all have to keep in mind, particularly with all this political upheaval that is taking place across the globe. And coming back to the idea, those who follow do not follow what is commanded, or when a person who is over others transgresses in their words, we are accustomed to that. We have always experienced problems with disinformation and misinformation. And we have to keep in mind, disinformation is not the same as misinformation. Misinformation is being misinformed, which is largely due to applying incorrect meanings to words or using the wrong word because it sounds like the word that they want to use. And we find these instances. This is where a lot of spiritual people make their mistakes as well. When reading abstract or esoteric material myself, and I read quite a bit, I come across words that I have no clue as to what they mean. And for instance, and I'm sure I mentioned this in a previous presentation, the word whore. Now, automatically, we conjure up images of illicit sex. And whore does not necessarily mean that. Actually, whore is not the same as prostitute. Prostitute is where you engage in a transaction for sex, for sexual intercourse, for intimacy, whatever, however you want to present it. But whore does not mean that. Whore simply means frequent contacts, frequent interaction. Words mean different. And just to give you another example of this, misinformation. Now, misinformation is largely due to poor interpretations, not comprehending the words used, or associating what is being presented with something entirely different. Love is another good one. A lot of people see love as, or understand love to be devotion. Another one understands love to be attention, and they don't care how they get this attention. They don't care how this devotion is presented, so long as they get it. And then we break it down even more. Sisterly love, brotherly love, friendship love, sister love, spousal love, intimate love. Oh my Lord, there's so many ways to interpret a single word. Therefore, whenever I am using this particular word, I qualify it. I say love is nurturing. Therefore, I don't have to worry about any kind of misinformation. If I say just send love, then I'm saying nurture the situation as best you can. Now, disinformation, on the other hand, is an intention towards misinforming others. You can call it a lie, you can call it an omission. Doesn't make a difference what words you use, it's still a intentional deception. And we rely on our leadership to act in ways that are beneficial to the country, the organization, whatever. We expect this. And often in the course of this, information is, well, it gets lost in translation, essentially. And one of the things we have to keep in mind is when leadership, any kind of leadership, I'm not just talking about leadership of a country or anything like that, any kind of leadership, when leadership is able to dismiss the rules of an organization, those closest to those in power, to those leaders, will mimic their actions. Here we go again, right back to this. Those who follow do not follow what is commanded, but do what they see their leader doing. Again, children. And the reason why I use the term children is because this is where we find it. This is where we find it. Children absorb information. They just absorb. They're designed to absorb information up until they reach a certain age, a certain level of growth. I forget what that is typically known as, but as they get closer to adulthood, and adulthood does not mean 18 years old. We don't become adults until we're more along, or until we are closer to 30s. That's when we're becoming adults, because we have the experience behind us to separate us from learning to application. Now, back to the idea of using children. Children absorb information. And the older they get, the lower the absorbency becomes. It's just the way the brain is formulated. It absorbs information. The younger they are, the more like a sponge they are. And because they are absorbing like a sponge, the information that is being absorbed is indiscriminate. Indiscriminate. And I can give you an example. When I was a child, my father complained of this person using his equipment and everything. And I was there. So what did I do? I promptly informed the person he was complaining about that my father no longer wished him to use the equipment. Boy, did I get in trouble. It's, misinformation, not disinformation, but misinformation. I did not know the difference between venting and intention. And that's what disinformation is. When a person intentionally misleads you, that is disinformation. And the effects of disinformation are more pronounced than misinformation. Because with misinformation, if you misinterpreted something, you can always correct it. Disinformation is intentional destruction. Granted, it clears the way for new growth and everything, but it creates more chaos, more havoc than misinformation. Because with misinformation, once you properly understand something like the word love, okay, love is nurturing. If I use love as nurturing, then that is what I am saying. Whereas if I don't qualify it and say love is nurturing, love can be a number of things, because I have seen these relationships where people are in my eyes, okay, in my understanding, are abused. They leave and then they go back to the abuser because they receive the necessary attention. To them, that is love. However, if I am saying love is nurturing, then that type of relationship still, in my eyes, in my understanding, is going to be not nurturing. It's going to remain abusive. However, it gives this person an opportunity to interpret it differently. Is my being smacked around helping me? You see, everything we do fulfills a need. Everything, whether we recognize that need or not. And when it comes to our leaders and such, we want to pay attention to the works of those leaders. And in order to understand the works of those leaders, or to know if these leaders are in line with who we are, if they possess the qualities we prefer, we have to know their past. We have to see what they have done in the past. You just can't dismiss the past. As one of the teachings of the Buddha, or in Buddhism, is that the past lays the foundation, or rather the past is the foundation of the present, and the present lays the foundation of the future. Those are your works. Now, if we were to consider the present leadership at this time of the United States, all we would have to do is look at their past. And we don't have to dig into what they've done, because this particular leader has been an entertainer. So all we have to do is find those episodes and view those episodes, and we can tell through viewing those episodes if they possess the qualities we admire. And what we have to consider today in this political environment is that those people who empowered him are of those qualities. Something to keep in mind. So it's not the leader, it's not just the leader that we have to contend with. It is also those who empower that leader, because they all share the same qualities. The same qualities. And it's not necessarily the leader that they have to I don't want to say contend with, but that they have to understand in order to implement whatever they want to do. They also have to look at those who empower the leader, because a leader draws their strength from those who empower them. So you've got these qualities of the leader are similar to the qualities of those who empower the leader. It's a package deal. You just can't go after one. You have to, well, I shouldn't say go after one. You have to develop something that not only can be applied to the leader, but to the followers of the leader. And this is in anything. Some of you may view this as being a presentation against the present leadership, but it's not. It is a dissemination of information to help you understand what is happening. I am a spiritual leader, and I have gotten questions, what's happening? Why is this happening? And I can point to nature and say, this is just part of a cycle. Everything in nature occurs in a cycle. And this is just one more cycle that we are going through, albeit a different cycle, because when you look at our history, you see the very same thing coming around. It's just a cycle, and it will pass. However, you have three choices. You can oppose the cycle. You can just go with the cycle, or you can try to guide the cycle. Guide it towards something else. Or you can be one of those that are pushing it in a specific direction. Or you can be one of those, and this is what I hear most people are, oh, I don't watch the news or anything. I don't get involved. Those people are they're more of a problem to what's going on in society than those who are pushing an agenda that is contrary to what others would like. There's a verse in Revelations that reads, because you are lukewarm, I spit you out. You are neither hot nor cold, you are lukewarm, therefore I spit you out. Meaning that it's better to be one or the other than it is to be riding the fence and not be involved. I vote, therefore I'm involved. If you don't vote, you're one of those that you're lukewarm and you need to be spewed out. You really have no foundation to speak for or against anything if you're not involved. And this is not something that speaks for or against anything, because before you can become properly involved, you have to have a proper understanding. And that is part of what this is, to give you a proper understanding. Thus, the ruler must first be possessed of the qualities which they require of those around them and those that follow him. That is the first lesson. The leader must be free from those qualities which he requires or which they prefer that the people not have or shun. Again, this is obvious, but it's so obvious that you don't see what's in front of you. And again, those who follow do not follow what is commanded, but do what they see their leader doing. If the leader is doing this, eventually all of those who empowered that leader are going to be doing the same thing. Something to be mindful about. When a person who is over others transgresses their words, do not do as they say, the people will fashion their speech accordingly. They will complain. They will support accordingly. And those in the middle are not worth listening to. When a leader transgresses in their conduct, the people will imitate them because they are the model. Therefore, what you see the leader doing is what you will eventually see the followers doing. So I hope this was useful in some way. And I want to thank you for taking a moment or two and hearing something different, something new, hopefully something informative. Thank you very much.